The unthinkable has happened. Everything has changed for you. Your world is shaken to its core. What happens after the initial shock fades? Joe Wilson is back to reveal what true recovery looks like, moment by moment, day by day. His candid reflections shed light on personal transformation, the challenge of reclaiming identity, and how healing can inspire us to give back in powerful ways. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Mind Matters, Navigating Head Injuries and Concussions. I'm your host, Kylie Como. I'm the legal nurse consultant here at Shane Smith Law, and today we are joined once again by our friend, Joe Wilson. If you haven't seen our first episode with Joe, you need to get back and check it out because it really sets the stage for our discussion here today. Joe, it's great to see you again.
Thank you, Kylie. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Great to be back.
Absolutely. So we talked last time, you kind of gave us a really nice, very articulate rundown of the initial stages of your brain injury, how it happened, what you were doing at the time, really painted a great picture. So again, audience, go listen to that. How did your recovery progress? You were getting into some of the physical therapy, occupational therapy, you mentioned neuropsychology. Were there any pivotal moments or milestones that stood out and kind of catapulted you?
So, like I said in the last episode, the first moment I started making more recovery was when I said my first word and when I went out of the hospital for the first time. From there, really, things completely catapulted. Like you said, I was only in hospital for another 2 weeks after that. I had intensive physio, I had intensive speech and language therapy, neuropsychology, just to understand myself more. I learned to walk again in a very quick space of time. I used the stairwells at hospital in order to teach my body how to walk again. I had a weakness down my right side as a result of my brain injury that basically required physical therapy to sort it out. Speech and language therapy was difficult. I had a lot of problems with my larynx that required attention. I used to have to do exercises holding my Adam's apple up. And neuropsychology was amazing in helping me to learn more about what had happened to me and how it affected me. Like I said, my mum is a physiotherapist. My aunt is an occupational therapist, and I had occupational therapy in hospital. So the way they worked out if I was either in or out of post-traumatic amnesia was that they would ask me questions and I'd have to remember the answers. One of them being a picture of a woman, a postcard picture about this size, and I had to remember her name was Janet. That is something I still remember to this day, 14 years later. I was, like I said last episode, I was discharged from hospital on the same day school broke up for summer. I had 6 weeks of intensive learning about myself, then went back to school in year 11. Still very much afflicted by my brain injury. I remember my year photo for year 11, I looked the word I used to use was derpy. It looked like I was a stroke victim. My face was slightly lopsided. During that year, I had alcohol visits from educational psychologists, neuropsychologists. There was a charity based in Surrey called the Children's Trust in Tadworth, Surrey. Richard Hammond is actually a big supporter of, because he has had a brain injury himself. Thank God I didn't have to go there. Like I said last episode, I was meant to be going to a rehabilitation program there, but I progressed so quickly after that initial going out of hospital that it wasn't necessary. But I had alcohol appointments from them. They came to visit me at school to support me, and they actually were able to give a lot of packs to my teachers to help them understand brain injury. I was the first child that had ever been to that school that had suffered a traumatic brain injury such as mine. And the whole school were informed while I was still in hospital. My brother was still going to school most of the time, and he had a lot of my friends coming up to him and saying, look, are you okay? We hear Joe's in hospital. Like, if you ever need us, we're here. And that was amazing. But in the days and weeks after the injury, the support at hospital was life changing. They were able to offer me support that I probably wouldn't have understood why I was getting it, but it made a huge difference, especially the neuropsychology, where I was able to understand just what happened in my brain and work on ways to overcome that. Now, because I had ADHD prior to it, I was already quite good at writing notes and stuff like that, but this enabled me to use other key skills like that to further myself. And I like to think I am a good case study. Mm-hmm. Not to big myself up or anything, but I was able to gain a huge amount of recovery from a brain injury. And like I said last episode, I have just recently graduated from university, and my mum's got a friend who's recently suffered a stroke. Who, it wasn't a stroke actually, she had a brain tumour that was removed, and she has basically had a brain injury as a result of it. And she is nothing like the woman she was. She's got 3 children. She barely even recognises her own children these days. It's quite sad, but I think time was on my side when I had my brain injury. I was 15. I was still very young. My brain had what they call neuroplasticity. So I was able to bounce back from that very quickly.
You bring up a fantastic point, and you beat me to the punch. Joe's story for our audience. He was 15, correct, when you suffered your TBI.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're younger, you've got that elastic, brain, if you will. Neuroplasticity is very important. The capacity for our brain to heal and rebuild is much greater than when, as we age, that slows down a bit. So yeah, experiences can vary with brain injury, and fortunately for you, Joe, you have, I'd say, on the brain injury spectrum, of quick and slow healing, you're definitely on that quick end. Almost quite miraculous. It's been an amazing ride with you so far. I would love for you to talk about, I think, a pretty rosy picture so far. I'd love for you to share with us about maybe some of the challenges. What did you see, just looking at your recovery comprehensively, physical, mental, emotional? What was your biggest challenge, would you say, for you?
So, biggest challenge after my brain injury was definitely just returning back to normal. For a long time, I didn't feel myself. I tried to engage with all the things that I'd done before, but found them very difficult. I still enjoy cycling. I went cycling after my accident, but it was a hell of a lot more difficult for me because of the weakness on my right side. I hugely suffered sort of cognitively with, I think they call it higher level thinking. So, and I'm pretty sure I had a damage to my frontal lobe, my prefrontal cortex, which controls emotional regulation. In the years after my brain injury, I was quite volatile. I was very prone to being easily swayed by people. In the couple of months after my brain injury, my dad said that all I wanted was love and to be loved. I felt like I couldn't love myself at that point, and I wanted someone to love me. It was at that time I got myself a girlfriend, but it was a very, very toxic relationship. It lasted way longer than it should have, and she made me become quite volatile, especially to my family. That was definitely a dark point in my recovery journey, because I had essentially, these people had help me rebuild my life, my family, and I was kind of throwing it back in their face. It all tended to blur a bit because I had my brain injury in the July, went back to school in the September, started going out with this girl in October. So very recently just come out of hospital. It all blurred the lines very much. I became, like I said, volatile, but none of my family were able to know if that was my brain injury or if that was because my ex-girlfriend had been instructing me to do things. And I think it was the latter. But to go back to your question about the difficulties, I still to this day have a massive problem with my memory. My memory has been affected hugely. I can remember very small, specific things from when I was a child. Like, for example, when I was in year 9, which I'm trying to work out what grade it is in America. Probably, I think you're like 2 grades above us, aren't you? So I started secondary school in year 7. Year 9 was when I was 13, 14. I remember there was a bin in the playground that someone had written Bin Laden on. This was in the times of just after 9/11, in the times of sort of Al Qaeda, and someone had written Bin Laden on this bin. Christ knows why I remember that, but my wife likes to say that I quite easily remember that. I can't remember our first date in that much clarity. I can't remember our wedding day in that much clarity. And that is one of my big problems, is the fact that my memory is so appalling. I quite often forget things. I had another assessment for ADHD the other day, and I was saying I lose things all the time. The amount of times I've left things on buses, on the train, I've left my keys places, I've left my wallet places. My wife likes to joke that we should get air tags on everything I own. Like jumpers, clothing, bags, like every small tiny bit of stuff we own, I should get an air tag on, because I will lose literally everything. My mum likes to say I would lose my head if it wasn't screwed on. So yeah, memory is something that has been hugely impacted. I say it in a light-hearted way, and I'm quite good at making jokes, but it's had a hell of an impact. That is probably the biggest impact, is my memory and how appalling it is. Otherwise, it's been just cognitive and physical, like I said.
Yeah, I think for audiences who have watched any of our other episodes, we've had quite a few brain injury survivors on our show, and we do hear a lot of commonality there. Of course, the physical injuries are prevalent right up front, but those tend to heal more quickly, but with the brain, you mentioned that emotional dysregulation, that inhibition, issue, and then the memory is always, top of the list for our brain injury survivors, and such a challenge. And with that in mind, Joe, I would like for you to talk about, how those things, in the scope of your injury and your recovery, how did those things impact your life, and then how do you build a sense of purpose, within all of that chaos?
That's a good question. For a lot of people, they can't see what's happened to you. It's called an invisible disability for a reason. If someone walks past you on the street who's had a brain injury, the likelihood is you won't know they've had a brain injury unless they've got really serious physical side effects or physical impairments. So a lot of the problem has been recognizing that I've had a brain injury. I said earlier about the fact that all my teachers at school were given packs about how best to support me. Because to the untrained eye, there was nothing wrong with me. Yes, I had a slur. Yes, I had a weakness down one side. But you can't see what's happened to my brain. It's not like a broken bone. You can't tell when it's fixed. The recovery, I was told, would be a maximum of 2 years. That was when I would gain the maximum recovery, was 2 years post brain injury. And like I said, I had ADHD prior to the brain injury. It was classed as mild when I was a child. I was diagnosed at 8 years old. Mild. I'm 29 now. It feels anything but mild these days. My brain runs off on tangents so often, it is unreal. It's a really difficult thing to regulate in my life. But the biggest issue that I face is people don't understand. People just don't know how to deal with you. Brain injury is such an unknown, because not only can you not see it, I mean, most people that you'll meet have had a broken arm, or will have a broken arm, or broken limb, or broken a bone at some point. You don't meet many people with brain who have had a brain injury. It's especially one as traumatic as mine was. And like I said earlier, people say, "Oh, that must have been terrible. You must have gone through so much." But no, my family were the one who suffered. Those around me were the ones who suffered more than I did. I bounced back quite quickly, but the effects are still. My family still has trauma because of it.
Yeah, I can imagine that's going to linger for quite some time. You don't go through that level of deep trauma and just shake that off, if you're being honest. So I do appreciate again that honesty from you. It really helps our audience, who are struggling with these sorts of things too, to hear somebody walking in their shoes, tell their story. You mentioned you went through university, graduated recently. Your professional life. How have you integrated, your personal, brain injury identity into your professional life at this point?
So I'm only recently graduated. I'm yet to make a full-time career out of photography. Photography as a profession is freelance. If you're a professional photographer, you have many different jobs on the go at one time. It's called what is called a portfolio career. But at university, the fact that I went to an arts university was amazing. Not only because I love the arts, but because a lot of artists are neurodiverse to some extent. So you've got a lot of people with ADHD, you've got a lot of people with autism, which meant I could sort of get an understanding from other people. I could relate to other people. The support staff at uni were amazing. I know you guys call it college in America, but yeah, we call it uni or university. The support staff, I had student support plans, I had disability support, I was even able to get a grant and a loan from Disability Students Allowance, because I had to take a student loan. But so the way I've implemented it in my personal life is my personal life, so my brain injury into my professional life, is I'm upfront and frank about it. I have this book at home. This is the only copy I have currently. It cost me £50 to get that printed. But I want to make a longevity out of that book, and I want to help other people, both who have had brain injuries and both who are families of people that have suffered traumatic events, to be able to understand what has happened and what is normal. I'm trying to find publishers at the moment who might publish my book. I'm thinking at the moment very small art publishers who will stock my book in art shops around the UK. But my hope is that it will have a much wider audience. Before university, I was doing a lot of dead-end retail jobs, but I did have a job working in a care setting with children who have disabilities. That and because of my history of ADHD and disability, it meant that I was able to connect with those children on a much easier basis and a much better basis. I was able to understand them a lot better. I am planning to go into teaching as well, firstly a teaching assistant, and then hopefully a photography teacher or a photography technician. My aim is to help as many people as I can and to spread the message. Just to talk about charities a bit more. There is a couple more charities I've worked with. One being a charity called Headway, which is a British charity for brain injury. They have been absolutely amazing with me. They support so many people who are brain injury survivors, people who have had traumatic brain injury like me, people who have had traumatic brain injuries like mine, people who have suffered strokes, who have had brain tumours. There is such a wide variation on how you can have a brain injury. It's not just you hit a car like I did. But yeah, it's really amazing to be able to give back, essentially.
That is amazing. I have to be careful how I say it because, everybody's in a different spot, especially when you're talking about TBI recovery. But, there is a time for, recovery from the injury, those early initial phases, and it's a long road. But I think at some point we get to a stage where it sounds like you cross into where you have to make a decision to no longer be the victim of this injury, which you were, right? You didn't choose it, but now you're going to take that and use it and allow it to benefit others, to use that tragedy truly to catapult you into the next stage and really help others, reach out, apply your knowledge, your wisdom to others. I love that. I'd like to ask our audience, has any of you faced a major life challenge, whether it's an illness, a brain injury, loss of a job? Has that shaped your sense of identity or purpose? We'd love to hear your comments below. Joe, I know we're coming to the end and there's so many more questions I would love to ask you, but we're so tight on time. I always like to end with this one. So I want to hear from you. So you're talking to brain injury survivors out there, you're talking to providers, you're talking to, law professionals. Is there a message that you hope our listeners carry away from this conversation?
Yeah, my message would be, if this has happened to you, this is not the end. And no matter how old you are, what your situation is, there is always hope. That is something I maintain to this day. I was always positive throughout hospital. I know it's a very difficult thing to be when something that traumatic has happened to you, but being in a victim mindset didn't help me. And I want to live my life without having to think, oh, I've been wronged, I've had this terrible thing happen to me. What's happened has happened. You can move on, but the best thing to be is look forward to the future and enjoy the present. Don't worry about the past. What's happened in the past has been and gone. Just that recovery is always possible. That no dream is too big. Why am I quoting Turbo? No dream is too big and no dreamer is too small. Oh, that is so cringe. But just believe that you can. There's no point beating yourself up for what's been and gone. There is always hope, no matter how dark it may seem. There is always light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm making so many cliches, it is unreal.
It's brilliant, Joe. Excellent job. Everybody, thank you for joining us for this amazing conversation with Joe Wilson. His journey through recovery, transformation, and advocacy offers really powerful insights into the ongoing realities of living with a brain injury. If Joe's story spoke to you, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel, leave a comment or review about our conversation today, share this episode with others who might benefit from it. We'd love to have your thoughts, your stories, your questions. Connect with us on social media or through our website. Your voice matters to us. It truly does enrich this community and helps us guide future content. So stay tuned for the next episode of Mind Matters, Navigating Head Injuries and Concussions, where we continue to explore important and exciting issues related to brain injury. Until then, take care of yourself and everybody around you. And remember, if you're in pain, call Shane at 980-999-9999. We'll see you next time.
In pain, so I call Shane. 980-999-9999. In pain, call Shane.